Hey, what's up everyone? This is Brian and welcome back to the Beginning C# with Unity Screencast series. One of the biggest differences between classes and structs is that a class can inherit code from other classes. Structs do not have this ability. Each struct is its own unique type, whereas classes can support a family. Class-based programming languages that support inheritance can do it in a couple of ways: single inheritance and multiple inheritance. Single-based inheritance means there is only one parent, whereas multiple inheritance provides many parents. C# uses single-based inheritance. This means classes inherits methods and properties only from its parent object. This saves a lot of headache from inheriting from multiple parents when inherited code conflicts with each other, also known as the diamond of death. To gain the benefits of multiple inheritance, we use interfaces, which you'll learn later in this section. When working with inheritance, you need to think from general to specific. The more subclasses you add, the more specific those subclasses should be. Also, when oftentimes referring to this family of classes, we refer to it as the class hierarchy. Let's take an example of an account. The account class has an ID and a balance attached to it. Next, you subclass it to create a savings account that adds interest in an accruing fashion. This savings account still has access to the properties and methods defined in the account class. Later, you want to create a more specialized savings account, so you create a money market account, which then has a specialized minimum balance and interest accrual. The way you define inheritance is putting a colon after the class name followed by the parent class. This should look very familiar to you. After all, every script you've created from Unity has inherited from the monobehavior class. So how do you determine what can be inherited and what cannot? That's done through access modifiers. By setting a property or method as public, everything can access it. By setting it to private, no one can access it, not even subclasses. To make it so subclasses can access the property or method, you set the access monitor to protected. To get started working with inheritance, we're going to create a new class. So here I'm clicking the create button and I'm going to select C# script and I'm just going to call this animal, like so. Here we are in Unity and you can see right here we have our animal class, and this class is now a subclass of monobehavior. Actually, I want this to be a parent class, so I'm just going to remove that subclassing. And we'll delete these methods here as well. So here's my animal class. Now I want to have the animal say, give us sound. And so we'll just give this a string and we'll just say sound, like so. And now I want to provide a method, and this will just simply be called speak. And what this animal will do, we'll just print out to the console the sound that the animal makes. So now we have our first class, which is the animal class. Now I want to create a cat class, and this cat class is going to derive from this animal class. So I'll just type public class, we'll call this cat, and now I'm going to put this down as a type of animal, like so. Now I want this cat class to have a specific sound. So what I'm going to do is create a constructor for the cat, and we'll be covering constructors later in this series, specifically to classes, but we're going to set the variable of sound to be meow, like so. Now let's do the same for a dog. Now the dog will say wolf and the cat will say meow, and both of them inherit the speak method. Let's go ahead and instance these. Back here in Unity, I'm going to create a new C# script, and I'm going to call this pets, like so. Now, I'm going to have this code run in on disable. And what we'll do first is create a new instance of a cat. And we'll create a new dog as well. Now let's see what the cat has to say. So I can call speak, like so. And we can have the dog call speak also. Back in Unity here, I'm going to select my cube. I'm going to remove any scripts that are on here. And we're going to add the pet script to the cube. Now remember, in Unity, you can only add mono-behavior objects onto your game objects. We can't add classes directly onto the cube. So now that we have our pet script on the cube, let's run our game. We'll disable the cube, and now we have meow and we have wolf. That's it for this screencast, but as always, we like to end off with a challenge. In your challenge, I want you to create a boss class that should just have a name. Next, create 2 subclasses, Fire Boss and Ice Boss. Each subclass should have a shoot method. The Ice Boss should say Ice Attack, and the Boss method should say Fireball. Instance both the Ice Boss and Fire Boss in onDisable, and have each of them shoot. I hope you enjoyed this screencast. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. In your challenge, I gave you the task of creating a boss object and then creating 2 subclasses of that boss object, an Ice Boss and a Fire Boss. So let's do this now. So here in Intermediate Object-Oriented Programming, I'm going to create a new C# script, and we'll just call this boss like so. Now the boss is meant to have a name, so since the other classes will inherit it, we're going to have this be protected, and we'll just call this name like so. Next, we want to create a shoot method, and there are many ways to do this. Now for the simplest one, we're just going to come up with a name. We'll just say shoot text like so. Next, we'll create our shoot method, and this will return a void. And we'll simply print out the shoot text. Now I want to create my Ice Boss and my Fire Boss. Typically, you put your classes in their own files, but for the sake of convenience, we'll just have this in one. You can see here we're getting some compile errors, and that's because our Ice Boss is not inheriting from our regular boss. Now that we have both our bosses ready, let's create a new script, and we'll just call this Boss Attack. Here in Boss Attack, we'll have this fire in onDisable. Back in Unity, I'm going to select the cube. I'm going to remove the boss monster script, like so. And we're going to add in Boss Attack. Now we'll run our game. I'm going to open up the console, and now let's disable the cube. And we have Ice Attack and Fireball.